You want to work in tech, but you have no idea how to code. What jobs can you get? Well, in today's video, I'm going to break them down for you. But first, hello and welcome back to my channel where I help you slay your career and cultivate the successful life you deserve. If you haven't already, do consider clicking that subscription button and tapping the notification bell for the best career success advice on the WWW. I'm really excited to make this video for you today because I was in the tech industry for more than 12 years, and there are so many misconceptions about jobs in tech, such as you have to know how to code or you have to be super duper technically savvy. And that's not actually true for all roles. So in today's video, I'm going to break down career paths in tech that don't require any coding. Now, I know there are several other videos like this on YouTube, but the thing that's going to be different about this is that I'm not going to focus on any jobs that require any specialty training, with maybe a couple of exceptions, but it won't be like technical training. Because while there is jobs that don't require coding, like user experience and technical writing, these aren't necessarily something that anyone can just walk in and do. There's going to be more training or more education involved. So in today's video, I will be focusing on jobs that you probably already are on that track, and it's just a matter of getting in there. For each of these roles, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the role is, where it can go, and I will mention earning potential, but I'm not going to nail down any specific salaries just because depending on where you are and your career and whether you're in B2B or B2C, like the salaries can look a little bit different. So do keep that in mind, but I will mention it. And especially denote the ones that have the highest earning potential because I know the necessary information. Now, if that sounds good, if you are ready to find your tech job without coding, tap that like button and let's jump right into it. The first tech job that doesn't require any coding also happens to have what, in my opinion, is one of the lower barriers of entry to work in tech, and that is sales. Now, there's a lot of different roles in sales, from sales development to becoming an account executive, and of course, there's leadership roles beyond that. I probably don't really need to explain sales to you, but in the tech industry, you will generally find salespeople in a B2B situation, which is business to business. You're selling software solutions that other businesses are going to use, and you are going to be championing the sale for your prospective customers. This can be a very collaborative role, and there's a lot of different teams that as a salesperson, you might get to interact with. Plus, in all likelihood, you're going to be dealing with some senior level people at hopefully some really cool companies. Of all the jobs that don't require any coding, sales definitely has the highest income potential. I know people making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in technology sales right now. Now, if you're in sales and you love sales, you can continue growing down that path into regional leadership, VP of sales, and eventually become a chief revenue officer or a CRO. Or you can use sales as a stepping stone. Again, I think that this is a great way to get into technology, especially if you're brand new or early in your career, because I think a lot of the things that you learn in sales are really crucial career success blocks that you can apply in different career tracks. From sales, you can go into things like project management, into marketing, into customer success. There's so many different things, and I'll touch on several of those roles just coming up here. The next tech job that doesn't require any coding is marketing. Now, this is pretty broad because really what I just told you was an entire department, and there are so many different roles within marketing itself. You can be in brand marketing, digital marketing, advertising, which isn't really 100% marketing, but that's a conversation for another day. But there are so many different areas that are super duper interesting within marketing. Marketing is how people know about your business and what generates leads. This also happens to be one of those career paths in tech that doesn't require any coding, but also has a pretty fast track in most markets to a six-figure salary. Now, as I already mentioned, there's so many different career paths within marketing, but it can also be a trajectory into something different as well. And honestly, most of the marketers that I have worked with have stayed in marketing, but I also have worked with marketers that have transitioned into sales, into customer success, and even into professional services, or eventually into their own consulting roles. The next tech job that you can get, even if you have absolutely no coding skills, is in business development. So this is partnerships. I find a lot of people don't know what business development is until they've actually worked in a tech company. So let me explain. This role is focused on building partnerships. Partnerships are everything in the tech industry and can really make and break the success and the rapid success of a company. especially if you're considering working for a company that is focused on B2B and is a third party to a bigger platform. There's definitely been a trend in tech for the past 10 years to either be a platform or be something that plugs into the platform and into other things within that platform. It's a very, very entwined industry. Now, the thing that I love most about business development is that it really does go to my motto of success is not solitary. So it gives you the opportunity to cultivate different partnerships and find mutual beneficial relationships within the business world. So sales can feel a little bit competitive, where business development feels like we all should be working together. Also has pretty good earning potential here as well. Now that we've spoken about a few different roles that are really about growing the business and bringing in customers, let's talk about some of the roles that service the customers once they've signed that dotted line. And that brings me to my fourth job that doesn't require coding in the tech industry, and that is customer success. This, my friends, is my old hood, so I have a lot to say about this one. The job of customer success is to make sure that your customer is successful with your solution. So it's making sure that things are well implemented, well adopted, and that the customer is going to stay around for a long time and hopefully become an advocate for your company and for the product. I personally feel like the most exciting thing about working in customer success right now, though, is that it's still a fairly new role. Like within the past 10 years, this is something that has just really been exploding. And customer success can have a really big impact on revenue retention as well as revenue expansion for a company. But since it is still a fairly new role, it actually lacks maturity. So at different companies, it can be different things. And because this is still a new practice, I think that there is a huge amount of opportunity as it is actually established and the best execution models are determined. Who knows, maybe you're going to be the person who figures it all out. And I'll also note that customer success is one of those jobs that does pretty quickly get into the six figures in major markets. Now, because this is a new industry, I really think that the growth path for customer success is something that we still don't totally understand, because I think there's a lot of jobs in customer success management that actually don't really exist yet. That said, aside from just growing into, customer success director, head of customer success, VP of customer success, a lot of what customer success managers do includes project management, sales, and working with product, which makes those three areas of the business very natural growth paths for customer success managers. The next tech job that doesn't require any coding is also one that I have personal experience with, and that is training. Now, obviously, when we build a product, people need to know how to use the product. And while you can come and hang out on YouTube, most companies, B2B and B2C, have some level of training available for their customers to be successful with their product. However, in the B2B industry, you might also have training as a service or TaaS, and this is actually a monetized team that's set to be a profit center. Companies may have training teams that are just creating training. They can be creating training certifications, or they can be doing custom engagements as part of a professional services team. Now, I honestly thought that I could have lived in training forever. I absolutely loved it, and I think it's why I'm on YouTube doing what I do now. But when I actually transitioned, I transitioned into customer success because of so much of what customer success management does is actually training and enablement for customers. But you can also move into an L&D organization as part of people operations, or into project management is where I find most people land. Speaking of that, let's move into the next job, which is project management in terms of tech jobs that don't require any coding. So project managers may be focused on internal projects or external projects, depending on where you work, what the actual job is. But their ultimate responsibility is to help oversee a project to make sure that it is done on time, on budget, and up to quality. So making sure that all of the deliverables of the project have been met. Quite honestly, a lot of times this can feel like you're herding cats. And on a day-to-day basis, what you're really doing when you're in project management is you are working cross-functionally to get shit done. Project managers have a lot of ownership without necessarily having authority over the people that are working with them as resources on the project, which means they either become or they already are very good at influencing others to make sure that the work is actually completed. Now, there's a couple of growth paths for project managers. If your specialty is in external projects, you can enter professional success leadership, or you may end up transitioning into program management or into product management. I also know several project managers who have actually ended up in sales. And again, in terms of earning potential, this is another high earning in terms of non-technical jobs in the tech industry. So if you want to be well into those six figures, project management can be a great track for you. And I'll also note that project management is also a great job if you want to be a contractor or a consultant at any point in your career, and they tend to command a very high hourly rate. The next tech job that doesn't require any coding, I'm gonna put an asterisk on because quite honestly, at some companies it does require coding, and it is product management. A product manager really owns the roadmap for the product. So they are working with a bunch of different teams to figure out what needs to go in, what's going to have impact, what's going to have ROI, really what needs to happen with the product. They typically are working with a bunch of internal teams, and in many cases are even customer facing in order to get that much sought after feedback to make sure that their product rocks. Now, the requirement to have technical understanding or maybe even some coding experience, as I already mentioned, ranges from company to company. No matter what, having some technical understanding is generally going to be helpful as a product manager, depending on what product you're managing. If you're managing a technical product, it is going to be something that is very helpful. However, if you're in a tech company, you can also be a product manager for a service, which is going to require probably no technical understanding in order to be effective at that. This is also one of the non-coding roles that commands the highest salaries in tech. Now, this is also a role that you don't just graduate and become a product manager. There is generally going to be a pathway into it. And I find that most product managers tend to move up instead of away from product management. The next tech job that doesn't require any coding is working in finance. And this is actually what I was doing when I very first graduated from university. So again, another one that I have a little bit of experience with. Of course, tech companies have books to manage, so they need financial professionals who are going to step in and do that. Again, there's so many different roles within the finance team, but what you'll actually find is those roles are the same as they would be in any industry, and this makes it very easy to transition into. The next tech job is actually the one that really got me started in the tech industry, even though it wasn't specifically at a tech company, and that is in recruiting. Now, recruiting, I think, is a really great entry point. There's generally not a lot of prerequisites to get a role in recruiting. If you are considering recruiting as an option, I do just want to highlight that there are two different kind of entry points. You can go directly and work in-house, which quite honestly can be a little bit more challenging. Most of the recruiters that I know actually start off in a recruiting agency. And really, you can do both of those and be a technical recruiter. And working in an agency, you can really make bank. However, being an in-house recruiter can provide you more financial stability. So there is a little bit of a trade-off. As a recruiter, your career path, you can obviously continue down and keep on growing within recruiting. But if you look to transition out, where most recruiters generally transition when they do is into the next non-coding tech job, and that is people operations. So this is basically a fancy way of saying human resources. Obviously, tech companies are battling for talent and they want to make sure that they retain it and people are successful once they do come in the door. And this is where people operations comes in. And this is another function which has a lot of different opportunities within it. You can be a talent development manager, you can be a human resources business partner, you can ascend through human resources as well. It's to cultivate the talent that you have, as well as to make sure that your company is complying with all of the laws surrounding working with people and stuff like that. The funniest thing about roles in human resources is when you talk about career paths, they're usually the people that are actually setting out the career paths. Obviously, there is so much to do within human resources that you can really explore in there and grow within. But when I have worked with people that have transitioned out of people operations and into different capacities within the business, it is often within business operations. So now you know what all of the different options are in terms of working in tech without having any coding experience. The thing that you're probably wondering now is, how do I get a job in tech without any tech experience? And that is exactly what I'm going to be covering in my next video. So if you haven't already, click that subscription button because I know you do not want to miss it. Now, as you consider all of these different potential career paths for you in the tech industry that don't require any coding, one thing that I definitely recommend that you do is take time to get to know people that are in that job to get a better understanding to see if it really is the right job for you. And one of the ways that you can do that is by leveraging LinkedIn and my non-gross guide to networking. I want you to go and check that out right now so that you can dive a little bit deeper, start building out your network, because ultimately that's going to be something that also helps you get your first job in tech. If this video was helpful, if it gave you ideas about jobs that you can do in the tech industry, even if you don't know how to code, give it a like, share it with a friend who's also interested in working with tech. And as always, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.